guys. Hey y'all.
Today we're going to do a lesson on compound interest, and this is your formula that you need to write down and kind of memorize. It's y equals a times 1 plus r divided by n to the x. And I know it looks really confusing, but yesterday we talked about exponential growth. So this is growth because we're adding to 1. But a is your starting amount. R is going to be your percent, and you have to divide your percent in compound interest by the number of times it happens in 1 year. And X is the number of times it's going to increase over a particular time period.
So if this n, number of times in 1 year, so let's say the problem you're looking at just says per year, then your n would be 1. But occasionally it's going to have a different value, and we're going to show you that today.
So these, in compound interest, I guess we should tell you what it is. Compound interest is when you gain money in the savings account, and in particular account, sometimes it grows numerous times in 1 year, and that's why it's compounded. So your n in your equation is going to be one of these 4 things. Either it's going to compound annually, which means it compounds once a year. Semi-annually means it's going to happen twice a year. Quarterly means 4 times a year, and monthly means 12 times a year. So I kind of gave you an example. If we say it's going to compound at 8%, this is how you find that 1 plus r over n.
So if it's 8% and it's annually, that just is going to be 100 plus 8, so 108%. If it's 8% and it's semi-annually, that means twice a year. So you have to take that 8% and you have to break it up into 2 parts, divide it by 2. So it's 4% at the beginning and 4% at the second part. That's the r over n. You take that 4% and that's what you add to your 100 after you've already split it up. If it's quarterly 4 times, other times it might say every 3 months. If you're talking about every 3 months in a problem, that is the same thing as quarterly, because 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. So quarterly means 4. So you take that 8%, you have to break it up into 4 parts. So then it would be 2% that you're adding to the 100. And then monthly is 12. So if you have to you divide it by 12, and you get 0.6%. So then when you add it to 100, it would be 100.6%.
Right, and then these numbers that are boxed are just me taking the 108% and changing it to a decimal. Taking the 104% and changing it to a decimal. So your R, remember, whatever you put in here has to be a decimal value.
So make a note so you don't forget that you want a decimal.
So our first example, we have $10,000. It's going to be compounded annually at 7% in 20 years. So we want to figure out how much money we're going to have at the end of 20 years.
So we want to start with our formula.
Y equals A times 1 plus R over N to the X. Alright, so your A, Miss Hamlet, you're starting out with $10,000. And it's going to be 1 plus 7%. Divided by 1 is 7%. So change that to a decimal, 0.07. And it's happening each year. So it only happens once every year. So it's going to be 20 times. And then you just plug that into your calculator, and that's going to give you the amount of money in 20 years.
So 10,000. And I'm going to go ahead and combine this. This is 1.07 to the 20th power. And the amount of money we will have after 20 years is $38,696.84. So what that means is compounded annually. You put that $10,000 in. And after the first year, it adds on this 7% interest. Then the next year, it doesn't just add on from the 10,000. It takes that 10,000 and that 7%, and it compounds it again and again and again. So every year for 20 years, it's increasing however much the interest is being applied to. It doesn't just stay at 10,000.
Alright, so yearly is normally the easiest. The next example is semi-annually. So we still have our $10,000, but we're going to compound it semi-annually. And before we do, I think we should deal with the 1 plus r to the n and make that simple for you guys. So remember, 1 is your 100%, and you have your 7%, but it's going to happen how many times in 1 year? Semi-annually means 2, so you're going to do 7 divided by 2. What's 7 divided by 2%?
3.5.
3.5. So you're going to have each time 3.5%. So that's 103.5. And if we change that to a decimal, that's going to be 1.035. So you kind of go ahead and deal with this. To me, it makes it a lot easier.
And if you're confused about where we got this 1.035, then rewind it back and listen to Ms. Barnes' explanation. She was very clear about what we do.
Alright, our starting amount was $10,000. And if it's happening semi-annually, it's happening twice a year. In 4 years, how many times does it happen altogether? That'll be 2 times 4, which is 8.
And we got 8 because if it's happening twice a year, in 1 year it'll be 2, in 2 years it'll be 4, in 3 years it'll be 6, and in 4 years it would be 8 times. It's compounding twice a year for 4 years. And it looks like it is $13,168.09.
Alright, last example. Suppose Josh saves $3,000 at 8% for 3 years and it's compounded quarterly. So again, we're going to deal with the 1 plus r to the n. We start off with our 100%. It's going to increase by 8%, but if it's quarterly, it's going to happen 4 times. So we have to divide by the number of times it happens. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we have 102%.
We change that to a decimal.
Change that to a decimal. That's going to be 1.02. So Ms. Hamlet is going to put that in parentheses. You're going to add your starting amount. And then we have to figure out our x value. So it happens quarterly, but it's happening for 3 years. So quarterly is 4. 4 times 3 is going to happen 12 times.
What'd you get?
$3,804.73. Alright, we will do more examples tomorrow in class.